We have anything for the good of the order?
Well, it just seems like it's been the season. We had the valedictorians, salutatorians last week. We had these outstanding teams, a lot of graduations going on, Century College this Friday, and I'm really proud of our educational institutions, thinking that both Onalaska, my alma mater, and Chehalis were both noted in the Seattle Times. And there's a lot of graduates that are going to be walking on Friday. And it just makes me proud that we have these. Not every county has a college within, and not every county has had two of their school districts in the Seattle Times. So I think we have a lot to be proud of and for the future. Because in the past, Onalaska was a failing school. And that was pretty distressing to all of us who had graduated from there. But there were some changes made in that school district, and they are going great guns. So I hope this encourages all of our school districts to, once again, continue on. And with the STEM program, you know, we have a lot to offer our kids in our own county. They don't need to move out of our county to have a good high school or elementary school to go to. We've got it here.
Yes, and one of those, and again, it was the graduation weekend, right? So lots of parties and lots of good times, and we hope that everyone made it home safe and did the smart thing, and it sounds good so far. But last Friday, I was able to attend the Onalaska High School aquaculture program, working with their advisory team, and that is an incredible program. They're over there on Carlisle Lake. What it's about there is they have, I want to say, 3 tanks over there, and of course they've got the smolt there. They've got about 35,000 in there that are just the little guys, and they want to turn those loose. And again, part of that though is in the common sense world, you would think they would just be able to raise them and turn them loose. Well, that doesn't work like that. Maybe once upon a time it did. So they're working very hard. They're working with the game department, and I know they're working with the tribes, and I know they're working with different fisheries right now, because they would not only like to the arduous task of the way that when they would get returning on steelhead, especially that come up, I believe it's Deer Creek, but don't hold me to that. I had made some notes here, and they're seeing some returns, but not a lot right now. And the way that they have to handle those fish, they literally have to go down, pick them up, and put them in they don't have a truck like the ones you see in different hatchery operations. So it's quite arduous, and of course they're always looking for a little bit of funding. They would like to have a truck, and they would like to have a boat to be able to go out on Carlisle and do some aquatic species along with other experiments. But Mr. Kevin Hoffman is the instructor out there, and they're just doing a phenomenal job. And I know that we talked to the superintendent, and the meeting lasted a couple hours. And again, we talk about STEM. You know, well, there's one thing, we talk about STEM, and this is hands-on. So these are the things that are really going to get kids engaged. You look at all the opportunities that they will possibly have as far as when they get involved, and I believe out of I think there were probably about 15 kids. All of them have been in the program except for one. She was a transfer for the last 3 years. So they're building and building on that. And and again, there's always a big discussion, which I'm not going to talk about it, is the native population versus the hatchery fish. And I'm not even going to give you my opinion on it, because I would like to give my opinion, but I'm not. So kudos to the Onalaska High School aquaculture program and their advisory team, along with the entire school district for supporting this, because this is where it's at. So congratulations to them. And I did commit to them that, you know, as from the county end of it, we were always looking for opportunity to help secure grants for operations like that, because it seems like, in my opinion, they always use the word silos. When you have these huge population silos, it seems like that's where most of the money goes. Well, our silo's not very big here in Lewis County, so we need to find out ways of maybe, pushing or getting some of that money our way so we can support these types of programs, because this is where it's at, in my opinion. So, thanks and I really appreciate them inviting me to that too. Okay, anything else? Okay. Any questions from the media or anyone else? You don't have to be from the media, right?
Right.
Okay. Hearing none?
I was going to mention about, we've been celebrating anniversaries, are going to be celebrating. We had a commemoration service for the Japanese folks who were interned that lived in Lewis County that went to Tule Lake. We're gathering steam and celebrating George Washington, our George Washington from Centralia, and his 200th birthday. And this December, what will be commemorating? I don't want to say celebrating, but what do you think we'll be commemorating in December? 10 years ago, a flood happened in Lewis County. So the Flood Authority and the Outreach Committee wants to put some things forward to really help people remember what it was like. I'm thinking about when we were touring with the governor and we were going through Centralia, and we could say, oh, there was 6 feet of water here, or there's 3 feet of water there, but it was hard to envision because everything was brought back to, quote, normal. And we want to renew what happened to us. It could happen again. So you'll be seeing more on that. We're meeting with the Chronicle, I think, tomorrow with Eric Schwartz. And if anybody else wants to meet with us as we put together plans to refresh people's memories, because I think there's been, I would call, flood apathy that comes on. We've had no real big floods for a while, but that possibility is still there. And we're working hard to mitigate that. And do you have anything to say, Commissioner Averill, or I can't do it. Colonel. Former Commissioner Averill, current Colonel. Current Colonel. I just coined a new one.
I think this is a great objective, because you might remember that in 2006 we had been 12 years since we had a flood. And what happens is the further you get away from a flood, not only you got new population that didn't experience the previous flood, but people just forget. You tend to forget the worst things that happen to you and remember the best things that happen. We now are 10 years away. Well, actually, we're 8 because because of the 2009 flood. But the 2009 flood was, in my estimation, very instructive, because in 2006, when the flood hit in 2007, because we had been so long, we were totally unprepared. I don't even think that the old Ford got their cars out in time. Then they had a practice of moving those cars to get them out of the flood zone, and we're picking people up off of roofs. And 2009 comes, and people. Well, first of all, our emergency management people did a very good job of getting warning out to people. We had about 5 or 6 days warning. And people started putting out sandbags and getting their stuff off the floor and moving things out. And so with almost as much water in 2009 as in 2007 flood, we had relatively little damage. It was less than $3 million. And we brought in programs to help businesses. But I think that if you went back now and you said how many of the businesses that developed those programs of what they would do in case of a flood, and had they practiced it or are they still thinking about it, you'd find they aren't. And so, I sit on the state's Emergency Management Council. In fact, I chair that council. And one of our concerns in all of the disasters that we have out there is public education. We need to do a lot more of it to remind people. You know, it was kind of easy when folks had telephone books, and you say, pick up your telephone book and look at the inundation map. No one's got them anymore. So we got to use other ways of getting it out. So I thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay.
Anything more? Seeing no further business on our agenda, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Motion is made and second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourn. Thank you.
You are invited to immerse yourself in the beauty of nature in all four corners of Lewis County, Washington. From our fields to your table, farms in the west share their bounty. Limitless landscapes, forests and mountains beg to be explored in the east. Fish our many rivers and lakes in the south, and discover where history and culture intersect in our twin cities. Explore it all by visiting our Facebook page and plan your next getaway at discoverlewiscounty.com. Culture, history, and adventure all come alive when you discover Lewis County.